السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. نشر في الأمس أندرو فيديو على حسابه في رامبل، ويخاطب فيه المملكة المتحدة وشعبها، خاصة الأولاد الذكور، ويعرض عليهم أن يكون وزيرا في حكومتهم، وأيضا يعرض حلا لمشكلة جرائم الطعن التي ازدادت وتيرتها في السنوات الماضية، وأبرزها ما حدث في الأسبوع الماضي، حيث طعنت فتاة تبلغ من العمر 15 حتى الموت. فهل يا ترى تستمع الحكومة البريطانية لحل أندرو قبل أن نبدأ لا تنسوا الاشتراك في القناة.
This is a message for the British public. I guess also the British government, which has vilified me and tried their very best to use the MSM to enforce an asinine narrative that I am somehow public enemy number one and I should be banned from schools. And my question is, what are you actually going to do about the fact that the streets of the UK basically run with blood permanently? I teach stoicism, self-accountability. I teach men how to be disciplined, to work hard, to be diligent. I teach men how to be successful in this ultra-competitive world. And the things I teach, the attributes which young men learn from me, are the exact attributes which will prevent somebody doing the absolutely heinous and very emotional act of committing murder. Stoic people don't often murder in a fit of rage. And we now live in a society, especially in the West, especially in the UK, where we're telling young boys, act how you feel. You should act how you feel and show more feelings. Well, that means they'll show sadness and sometimes they'll cry. It also means they'll show anger, which is why they're all stabbing each other. Because we no longer teach the things we used to teach. Why, when we taught boys to be stoic, did we not have this problem? So we're teaching the wrong things and we're vilifying the wrong people because they're vilifying me. The British government hates me and they banned me from schools because I'm somehow dangerous, when I'm literally the solution to the problem. They talk about they need a minister for men. Sure, I'll be a minister for men and I'll fix everything. I'll fix men's mental health. I've done more for men's mental health than the government has done in the last 100 years. The government has never done anything for men's mental health compared to me. Me, one man. They're gonna get a minister for men and he's gonna tell men to be bigger cucks, be more emotional, be bigger wimps. And they think that's gonna somehow fix problems. It's actually gonna exacerbate problems. But one of the problems it does exacerbate is crime. Because they don't understand, when you have a society without any masculine essence, without any strong men around, there is a power vacuum. And that power vacuum is currently filled with feral youth who have no respect or fear of the law. Now, we can talk at length about why these children are so brazen. But truthfully, if you have a legal system which is so disregarded and disrespected, if you have a legal system and a judicial system which has so little teeth that children don't fear it, I blame the government. I'm in Romania currently, poorest country in Europe. Teenagers never stab each other. Haven't seen it. Been here 7 years, haven't seen one. Do you know why? Because if you stab each other, you're going to go to Romanian jail. And let me tell you from personal experience, I was unfairly incarcerated for something that never happened for 93 days in a Romanian dungeon, and I never want to go back. I guess it's probably the same reason why in Saudi Arabia teenagers don't stab each other, because you have to go to Saudi Arabian jail. But it seems that in the UK, teenagers have no fear of jail, no fear of the police, and no fear at all of the law. I blame the legal system for this. I've talked at length about the fact that the UK is crumbling in real time and that knife crime needs to be fixed.
You need men to protect you, and you need men who are brave, who are stoic, who understand they have duty and honor. That is exactly what is wrong with modern society, especially London. Who else was on that fucking bus? A bunch of boys. Because if a man was there, he would have stopped it. A bunch of children and boys and scared, cucked men. A bunch of liberal left-wing losers. That's why London's failing in real time. Watched a 15-year-old girl get stabbed to death and didn't even do anything about it.
I've talked at length about how as the cost of living increases, as it becomes harder and harder to make a living, crime will be exacerbated. And any small problem you have will become a very large problem. I've literally said on Piers Morgan and other large MSM interviews, if you have a problem in your life and you completely ignore it, it doesn't go away, it gets worse. If you don't pay your mortgage and ignore the letters, you end up homeless. It doesn't just vanish. And the UK government and the UK populace seem to think if they just ignore this knife crime problem, it's going to go away. Yeah, everyone's stabbing each other now. Yeah, London's feral now. You can't wear a nice watch in London now. But don't worry, it'll be fine in 10 years. How? without any decisive action being taken, without any members of parliament seeming to give a shit, without anybody in the British populace or the British public standing up and saying, we want drastic action, how does anybody expect this to get better?
When you have a city which is losing, which London is losing in all metrics across its competitive cities around the world, and you're in charge of it, by extension, you're a loser. I will tell you right now, instead of virtue signaling and giving Qatar a hard time over their religious beliefs, what we should be doing is a treaty with Qatar to build a prison deep in the desert. Make me mayor of London. We'll make a prison deep in the desert. And if you're caught with a knife or robbing someone, you can go do 25 years with one meal a day in the scorching sun. And then what we'll do is we'll put cameras there and we'll interview you once a week and broadcast that out to the nation and see if you change your mind and make people understand that this is a country that should be respected and our laws should be respected. Instead, what happens? What has Sadiq or any of the people in charge of this country actually done to fix any of our issues besides sit around and talk? Nothing.
When I sit and try and teach young men to be disciplined and hardworking and diligent, I'm demonized and I am banned from school. Instead, we tell men to act feminine and act out on their emotions, and they get surprised when men then act angry. And the whole problem is this tornado, this upward spiral into insanity. And nobody's sitting there thinking, how do we fix this? So I made a video about knife crime 5 years ago. I made it very clear how I would fix the problem. I made it very clear that they would be hung.
6-7 years in jail, the last 3 years you're out, you're already 18, you're out by the time you're 25, running around again. Fucking that guy's gone forever, that family's ruined forever, and you're running around with a fucking knife thinking you're Rambo. I would fix this shit instantly. There would be the fucking corpses of these fuckers hanging from the bridge, and I guarantee after the first 4 or 5 are hung, after the first 4 or 5 have cried their eyes out on TV, the rest of these little pussies will think twice.
And then some clowns have come along, because there's always clowns in the world, and start talking to me about human rights and how the UK would not hang anyone from Tower Bridge anymore because it violates human rights. What about the human rights of the people they stabbed? What about the human rights of the families who lost members because of some feral idiot? Their human rights don't matter, but now human rights matter. So, because I am a professional, I will give a new answer. If somehow the UK cannot execute these scum like they should, then here's what I would do if I was in charge of the problem, because Andrew Tate fixes things. I don't sit and I don't talk, I fix. And here's how the UK could fix itself overnight. I would build a prison, maximum security prison, 24 hours a day lockdown, the most bare, the most Spartan conditions you can possibly imagine. Anybody who stabs anybody with a knife, whether they live or die, gets a full life term in my jail. And then I would take the BBC, which is the British Broadcasting Corporation, and instead of using it to convince the populace that I'm a misogynist, instead of using it to convince people to get vaccines they don't need, instead of using it to try and convince children to have sex changes, what I would do is use it to fix the actual issues with the country. And we would set up, like Big Brother, 24-hour-a-day cameras in this jail. Each week, you would have a 1-hour recap of the people sitting in their rooms alone, crying. And you know what's beautiful about it? Every Saturday night, we broadcast that out to the nation. And there'll be a 16-year-old sitting there, watching another 16-year-old who stabbed someone, sitting in a room, crying for his parents, which he'll never see again. And he'll think twice, do I really want to be that person? The great thing about it is, it will fix things on a longer time frame. It'll be generational, because when that 16-year-old becomes 24 years old and he turns on the TV, he will have his life interconnected with that person who was the same age as him once. He'll see the 16-year-old's now 24 in the same room. He hasn't gone anywhere. He hasn't done anything. And that man will sit and think of all the things I've done between 16 and 24. I've fallen in love, I've got a job, I bought a car, I got a driver's license, I moved out. That man hasn't left his room. He will be so glad he did not commit crime. And he will do his very best to ensure his children do not commit crime. And we will fix the problem into the future generations. Because right now, these feral idiots, their parents aren't even telling them to do anything different. That is how you could so easily and quickly fix the problem. Why don't we use the BBC to actually help the nation? Because I don't see how getting a bunch of sex changes and vaccines is going to help anything. Because we all know that was garbage. Calling me a misogynist for the 55th time this week isn't going to help anybody. But this reality TV show we put together can show children of the country the genuine consequence for being an imbecile. for being evil. We fix everything. I've never heard a member of parliament mention this. Never heard law enforcement mention it. No one seems interested. You just stab someone, I guess you get 15 years. You of course only do half, that's 8 years. The last 3 or 4 years are on day release, you get to go home. So you stab someone at 16, you're out when you're 20, and the last 2 years you're on some version of parole. You're 23 back on the street with your Rambo blade. It's just fucking crazy. And nobody seems interested. The problem could be very easily fixed if they want to fix it. So then you start to look deeper. Do they even want to fix the problem? But that's a whole separate rabbit hole. I'm making this video because very recently, I think it was 3 days ago, there was a stabbing at a high school called Lee Manor High School in Luton. I am from Lee Manor High School. That's the high school I went to as a child, as a teenager. And it has always been a disadvantaged area. It's always been a very poorly performing school. I think in my year, 3% of people passed 5 GCSEs A to C. I know that won't make sense to anyone outside of the UK, but that's the basic pass metric. We had 3% or something ridiculous. I want to give a message to everybody inside of Lee Manor High School. Your teachers may hate me, and the government may hate me, and these people may be too stupid and too blinded to understand I'm actually good for the world. And they may have tried to ban my name in schools, but if they actually reversed that decision and had any kind of brain, we could fix a lot of the problems. But I want to make something very clear. I'm Top G, I'm Andrew Tate. I have hundreds of millions of dollars. I've been to every country on earth. I have beautiful children who love me. I have a happy family. I have good friends. I have every car you can name, 52 of them. I have diamond watches. I have mansions. I have my own jet. I have my own boat. I have everything, and I'm from the same school you are from. Nothing ever held me back because I understood if I do the right things and I work as hard as possible, I will be monumentally successful. I did not allow anyone to put me in a box. I did not allow anyone to tell me that I was disadvantaged, that because I'm brown, because I'm from a council estate, because I'm from a bad school, I'm not going to do well. I didn't listen to any of them. I knew who I was going to be, and I got up and I worked hard to make it come true. And every single one of you inside of that school and every other disadvantaged school in the country can do the exact same thing. And I will guarantee you that your dreams will never come true with a knife. There is no advantage to carrying a knife. You need to avoid that gang life, avoid that trap garbage. You need to be a responsible adult, focus on doing as the people who are living the lives you want to live are doing, and be a good person. You know what's crazy about the whole drug thing? A lot of these children look at drug dealers and think they're rich because they're gangsters, right? Oh, he's got like $2 grand in his pocket and a blade. He's rich. Once you grow up, you realize how poor these drug dealers are. They don't even have any money. They got an Audi on finance and $2 grand in their pocket. You call that money? Hundreds of millions of dollars offshore is money. And you don't get that with a knife. A knife is never going to help you achieve those things. These people aren't even rich. And it is a ticking time bomb until eventually they end up dead or in jail. So why are you doing it? I hope this message spreads virally around Lee Manor High School. I hope everyone in Lee Manor High School understands that that's where the Top G went to school. I might have been sitting in the same room some of you are sitting in right now. And I've conquered the earth. And I never needed to stab anybody to do it. I also pray that Western nations wake up and realize, especially in Western Europe, that we have a whole host of problems. The cost of living crisis is one. Unchecked immigration is another. But if you're also going to add in a weak legal system which is not feared, on top of all of the other problems, things are going to become dystopian extremely quickly. It is only the legal system which prevents the purge. It is only the legal system that is supposed to prevent chaos. And if you are allowing people to be born within a country and grow up with a mindset, or be imported into a country and have a mindset, or arrive at the borders of a country and have a mindset which prevents them from fearing the law because the law itself is too weak, then you're going to soon learn the harsh realities of destruction. Because when society begins to break down, and we're almost there, it's going to be full World War III.